Alright, back again. So, thought I was going to put my soldering iron away, but that wasn't quite true because I do actually want some video transmission on this. So I've soldered up a couple of JST battery cables on. There's a 12 volt and a 5 volt supply here, so I've soldered up those. And I'm going to mount this on some little nylon standoffs I've got. I might replace these with Roches, might see, but anyway, it'll mount in the middle there. And then I'm going to feed the cable, see, that'll just pop on there. I think I'll have to feed the cable out the back. Can't really, it's going to be in the way of the battery if I try and feed it down, so I think out the back's good. And then also, because I wanted video transmission, I've drilled a little hole for a TBS pigtail here, so that just you can get a video VTX antenna on there. I quite like having the VTX antenna underneath these larger copters because generally they're above you and sort of otherwise they can get shielded by the frame, so I tend to put the VTX antenna underneath, and that can get both holes to line up exactly right, which is a bit of a pain, but that fits okay, and I'll strap that down. And then I don't have a gimbal for this, but I do have one of these RunCam Thumb Pros, which are quite nice. So these take 4K video, and they've got support for gyro flow, so you can get very, very smooth. If you do sort of post-processing afterwards, you can get very, very smooth video. And they come with a little mount, and so I've drilled just a couple of extra holes in the bottom mount here. I think it's for a gimbal, but I've drilled a couple of extra holes underneath, which that just fits into quite nicely. Anyway, it does, yeah, like that. So I'll screw that up, and that can be underneath. And then I'm also going to put a VTX camera on top, just so I have this doesn't have the Thumb Pros don't have a video output, so you can't see what's recording. They do have support for starting, stopping video, but you can't see what's on recording. So I'm going to put one of these. I've got a Phoenix Pro that I've got from another build lying around, and I'm going to mount that on top because there's not really room underneath. And I 3D printed a little mount I found underneath. I think that should mount on top here, maybe. I think the GPS is supposed to go there as well, so I'll mount the GPS just behind. It could even go on the end there, I suppose, but I think that'll work quite well. And then most of my time has been spent crimping and wiring the cables for the video. So I've got a cable here which is for the TBS. There's a Unified Pro 32, so this slots in there. It requires battery power because you can't really feed it off. Video transmitters require too much power to feed off the supply. I'm going to output this to a UART so I can control the video, probably over smart audio, but CRSF is an option. And then I've got the video input, which comes from the cable I've wired up here, which similarly is going to go to a UART. At some point I may flip the UART cables over to the Thumb input because I don't really need to control this one, whereas starting and stopping the video on the Thumb might be quite useful. So we'll see, but for now I've wired that up. That took me some time because I like to crimp these things. I can do a little plug from my crimping tool sets. Best crimper I've ever owned. This is an Engineer PA09. This is an absolutely awesome piece of kit. Works really, really well and just very highly engineered. and that was the first engineer piece of kit I bought, and now I just simply buy engineer all the time. So this is the best wire stripper I've ever owned. This is a PA06, again by engineer. It's just really sharp and nice. And then I've actually got some engineer snips that I use. What's this? NP05. I can't even read what that says. Sort of, these wore out a little bit, cutting too much metal, so I got some more. And there's some pincer nose type pliers here. This is a PS03, I think. But these two pieces of kit are highly recommended, because then you can just crimp up rather than having to wire solder stuff. You can crimp things up really nicely, and these all crimp up quite well, especially this sort of thing, and the DuPont connector is very easy to crimp up. I do find these are, I think, GST-SH10. I find these really hard to crimp well, even with just really good focus. You can crimp them up, you can get them in, and then they don't pop in very easily. So if I can, I avoid crimping this type of thing. It's almost easier to crimp these, but even so, these two pieces of kit absolutely awesome. So I've got all the pieces I need and want, and so I think really the next thing to do is mount it all together. So I've got to mount the legs. I mean, this all unfortunately comes together in kind of one big free-for-all. Once you've got all the electronics done, it's basically a case of bottom plate, top plate, all at the same time. There's no good way to do it. I do find them a little bit hard. I find it's quite hard to put these sort of things together. You kind of almost need to clamp them together to make it easier. But I think I've got everything in place that I want to for now. I don't think I'll need to be undoing stuff to resolder stuff for now, so I think I'm in a good position to get going on that.